welcome. This is your boy, Mr. G. And we're out riding. And I thought I would get a couple vlogs done. So this will be some Road to Freedom stuff, my story stuff. And what I really am trying to do with this is just kind of see, like, where did I start? Like, how is this so in me that I'm so into the whole idea that led me to moto vlogging? Why do I need this? So I start back in, back in the day when I was a little boy and I heard about the Hells Angels and didn't know what didn't understand what that meant. And I just kind of am going through all, like, the high points of my life that I can, remember as big things that kind of was a part of my journey. So this got to be one of the funnier ones. But it might be like the pinnacle of everything that was my childhood. I'll change, like, the names out for one person or whatever. A lot more wind, by the way, on this than my my bagger. Like a ton more. And this thing's giving off a decent amount of heat considering the fact that it has a radiator and it's pretty cool out. So it's stuff to know. So let's say Ted. Let's call him Ted. So I had this acquaintance that was becoming a friend. That my friend Vince, and Vince ever hears this story on the internet, he'll crack up because he'll remember it instantly. And my buddy Ted, I met through Vince. I've done other vlogs on Vince. And that signed off at 11. I've seen it go down to 12, so in first gear it doesn't do that, I guess. And so Vince introduces me to this guy, Ted. And Ted is one of the kids like me that is like, your parents tell him you're not allowed to go over Ted's house. And I've been there 3 or 4 times, and Ted's house is just the coolest place ever. His family owns a junkyard around the corner from this nice pristine development we live in. So I mean, looking back, I understand why the parents didn't like it, because it was dirtying up their pristine Mount Laurel, and we can't have that. And the junkyard was behind the house. The house was set back a little bit. I never thought much of it. They used the junkyard to make money. What's wrong with that? And so Vince and Ted and I, we would ride motorcycles together. And I should probably clarify, we would ride Ted's motorcycle together. I don't remember, a lot about the motorcycle except for that it looked, kind of like a typical Honda street bike of the 80s, and it was probably an older model, So Ted's got this like mound of dirt in the backyard that for us is like a mountain, and of course at our age we're just like, let's jump it. So Ted's the first one to show us that you can jump this thing. He jumps it. He gets a little air. He doesn't understand he's dealing with Vince. So I jump it. I probably got less air than him. I was like not excited about the fact that I was flying through the air like Evel Knievel. At that point in my life, I had realized that Evel Knievel was a lot braver than I was. And I wasn't willing to break a couple bones, and so we would be back in the back of Ted's house constantly, jumping this dirt pile. And the more we did it, the better Vince got, because my buddy Vince just had no fear. Like, he could have been Evel Knievel. If someone said to Vince, "You want to jump over the Grand Canyon in a rocket ship motorcycle thingy?" Like, Vince would have been like, "Yeah! And can I jump out and parachute afterwards?" So Vince kept, perfecting this the more we did it, and Ted was starting to get frustrated that Vince was better at this than him. And it was just something you had to pick up on. We made a lot of jokes, but mostly like we were pleasant to each other. And Ted wasn't outwardly frustrated about it, but you could see it. He would try and jump even higher than... And so we got into this little shootout, like who's going to jump the highest on this little dirt hill in the junkyard or whatever on this motorcycle. So finally Vince does the most insane jump ever. It's my turn. I don't even remember what I did, but it was not impressive. I remember that because right afterwards Ted was like, all right, let me show you how it's done. And I knew he was going to do better than Vince on this thing. That whole goal was like, let's put this to rest. It's my motorcycle, my house, my hill, my junkyard, and I am the best at this. And you could just see it in his stature. Now, we were probably 12-year-olds. And there wasn't much of a lead up. It's South Jersey, everything's cramped. So there wasn't much of a lead up to this runway. So you just kind of had to do the best you could at, maybe you were getting into second gear as you hit the jump. So looking back, we probably weren't that high anyway. But Ted takes his turn. He decides he's going to do start on the other side of the yard and get up as much speed as he can and kind of try and take a turn at a higher speed, then do the runway and up the hill, and that'll be the end of this. He will have the highest jump, and there'll be nothing left to talk about. We know who is the boss here. All right. So he backs up all the way across the house. Honestly, at the time, I didn't realize you could even do that at his house. And he starts tearing into this thing in first gear, takes a turn, slides, hits second gear. He's revving out second gear, takes a turn. It gets the bottom end of third gear. I think it slowed him down more than anything. Hits this jump, just flies through the air, puts his feet out, and, he hits the ground and bounces really hard. It wasn't a bike that was set up for this kind of stuff. And he jumps off the bike, stuck the landing, and we're all ready for him to be like, yes, who's the king? So he jumps off the bike, he grabs his crotch, and he starts yelling, my boys! I can't find my boys! My boys, guys, I can't find them! My boys, I can't find my boys! Now, you got to understand, we saw him come down and smash into the gas tank crotch first. So we know what's going on, and as the, late 70s, early 80s kids that we were, we did what any, 10 to 12-year-olds of that day would do, and we fell on the ground, holding our guts, laughing our rear ends off uncontrollably to the point we were kicking our feet to try and stop ourselves from laughing because we were in so much pain from the stomach contractions. We were just out of control laughing. Well, meanwhile, he's standing there guys! He's panicked. It's not like you need to be empathetic to me. He's totally, completely panicked. So he's like, guys, you gotta help me! You gotta help me! I don't know, to this day, I don't know how Vince knew this, but Vince goes, jump up and down, dummy! Jump up and down! So Ted starts jumping up and down, trying to find his boys. And sure enough, he does 3 or 4 jumps, and he's like, yo, you guys hungry? Let's go in and get something to eat. Woo! And I can't even express to you how hard. It was 3 weeks later, in the middle of math class, I would think of Ted jumping up and down, you know, squeezing his crotch, searching for his boys, screaming, "I can't find my boys, guys! I can't find my boys!" And I am slightly modifying that statement for video purposes. And I would just be laughing uncontrollably. Like 3 weeks later, I'll be getting yelled at by teachers to shut my mouth, and I couldn't. I couldn't. Like, if I thought about it at all, I would just absolutely lose my marbles. So, yeah. So you got a story. I can't find my boys. So you got a story that matches this. Here's Atco Raceway right here, our local drag strip. Been here for a long, long time. I helped the person find this morning. And, yeah, there you go. There's the stadium seating. I got a lot of stories about Atco. Monster trucks. Seeing Bigfoot for the first time. Anyway, so, they put the wall there now so you can't watch from the outside. So, you got a story that matches that one, please chime in. Or even, like, you know, if you're a moto vlogger, you know, give me a shout out and tell your story, because that's about the single greatest motorcycle story I have. Like, it's like one of the single greatest moments in my life. And can't wait to hear what you have to say. Your boy G, out on the Strom, the V-Strom. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit me up, and I'm gonna do this thing. I'm heading down to my old house to check out the place and see if the renters are taking good care of it. And I will see you on the flip side. Peace!